All right, welcome to your lesson for today. We're going to be talking about the last one for prisms and cylinders and volume, and looking at more complicated problems. So with these word problems, there are 3 steps to go through. The first one is you need to figure out what formula to use. So you've got a list of choices here. You'll always have your formulas with you, but you need to know which one to pick. So decide if you'll need to use multiple formulas as well. Right? So sometimes it's a combination between 2 different ones. And one of the more important ones is make sure you do not need to do a unit conversion. Alright, so make sure, right, that if they ask for it in centimeters, it's in centimeters. If it's in meters, in meters. Alright, so let's try some. So this question here says, a cylinder with a radius of 0.6 meters and a height of 15 meters needs to be replaced with a cylinder of equal volume. However, the new cylinder has a radius of 0.5 meters. How high must the new cylinder be? So let's label the old cylinder. This is 0.6 meters, right? And then the height is 15. So the volumes are equal. So if this is cylinder number 1, right, I'm going to draw cylinder number 2. Volume of number 1 is going to equal volume of number 2. So before we can really do much, we need to figure out what the volume of number 1 is. So the formula that we're going to use, right, that area of the circle, pi r squared times the height. 3.14, radius is 0.6. We'll square it times 15. All right, now remember, as always, you need to do the exponent part before you do any multiplying thanks to orders of operations. So 0.6 squared, right, is 0.36 times 15. Now you can multiply them all together and you get an answer of 16.956 meters cubed. Okay, so you've answered part of the question. We know the volume of number 1. Volume number 2, there's a radius of 0.5 meters. We don't know the height, but we do know what the volume equals. So here's my formula, volume 2, pi r squared times height. Now volume 2 is 16.956. Pi is still pi. The radius here is 0.5 squared. My unknown is height. So remember, back with all that algebra stuff, we're going to be isolating for h. Before we do, let's kind of clean up some of those numbers. 3.14 times 0.25 times height. Let's figure out what, 0.5 times, 0.25 times 3.14, right? That equals 0.785 times height. So remember, the way to isolate for h is you divide by that coefficient, divide by the number in front. If I do it to the right, you have to do it to the left. So what happens is that these guys cancel, right? 4 divided by 4 is 1. 0.78 divided by 0.78 is 1. So the height ends up being 16.956 divided by 0.785, or 21.6 meters. Pretty cool, eh? So let's try another one. Okay, now you'll definitely have some like this in the future. Number 2 here says Taylor is making a display of Toblerone chocolate bars in his candy shop. So you see a picture of that there. He's going to stack 64 packages to form a shape that is a triangular prism. Using 8 packages in the bottom layer, what is the volume of the display? So let's see. Here's the volume of 1 chocolate bar. Right, if I want the total volume and there's 64 packages, right, I'll just take the volume multiplied by 64. The fact that there's 8 packages in the bottom, it's just there to trick you. You don't need that, right? So let's go over again how to solve for a triangular prism. Right, now, because even though it's on the rectangle side, the base of a triangular prism is actually the triangle. So volume is going to be base times height divided by 2 for the triangle, and then I'm going to multiply it by the 20, right, that last dimension. So the base of the triangle part is 5.6. The height of the triangle part is 5 divided by 2, multiplied by 20. Let's see in my calculator what that area ends up being. 5.6 times 5 divided by 2, whoopsies, is 14 times 20. So it ends up being 280 centimeters cubed in one chocolate bar. But we need 64. So I'm going to take that 280, multiply it by 64. That's a lot of yummy chocolate. Ends up being a volume of 17,920 centimeters cubed. All right. So why don't you turn to the next page? Now this one, Kenzie and Ashley are engineers, and they've designed a rectangular culvert. Now culvert's one of those things that like water comes out of into the creek, and it kind of goes underneath the highway so that the river can pass through. Kind of know what I mean? So they design it in a rectangle, and what they do is they take out the center part to let the water move through. So a culvert to carry water on a new highway. They estimate the distance under the highway is 45 meters. Determine the volume of concrete they need to make to require the number of culvert pieces. Give your answer to the highest tenth of a cubic meter. So here's one piece. Now we know that the whole thing is 45 meters. So that means I'm going to need 3 of these shapes, right? If this is 15, 15 times 3 gives me that 45 meters. So other things you're going to need to do, find the volume, right, of length times width times height, sorry, of the actual rectangular prism. Find the volume of the circle inside, pi r squared times height, and then you're going to subtract the 2. Right? So it's like you have this rectangular prism and you just kind of punch a hole through the middle. Once you get that answer, remember that you have 3 of them. Okay? So why don't you pause the video and see if you can do that one on your own now. Okay, welcome back. So the second question on the back is kind of similar to the one in the front. This one, right, you don't know the height. That's what you're trying to figure out, but you know the volume. So for a cylinder, our formula is pi r squared times height. So the volume is 786. Pi is 3.14. Looks like my radius, oh, here's diameter. Remember, so diameter divided by 2 gives you radius. So 3.5 divided by 2. Let's see, I have a good estimate in my head, but just to be correct, 3.5 divided by 2, there it is, 1.75. That's what I'm going to square times h. So why don't you try this one on your own as well? Follow the model that you did at the beginning, right? Try to get a number out of it first, and then you're going to divide to isolate your h. Okay, last question in the video. Again, I'll help you set it up, but you need to take it to completion. So this one, we have Corey has a shed. The blueprint is below. What's the total volume going to be? So this one's pretty obvious. You can see that there's 2 shapes. Right, volume 1 is a rectangular prism, so length times width times height. Volume 2 is a triangular prism, right, which would be base times height divided by 2 for the triangle base times, right, the height of the entire thing. So you're going to find the area of this triangle and then multiply it by here. Once you have those, you add them together and you have your total volume. Okay, that's it for today, so please check your answers on the next day to see if you got them right.